Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon from wherever you're watching this from. My name is Kevin Tui. I'm an AWS community builder and I'm interested a lot about developer tools. So today I'm going to be taking you through CodeCatalyst. We're going to create a simple React web application on CodeCatalyst. And although you need to sign up, you need to ensure that you connect your AWS account to CodeCatalyst, and you also need to ensure that you set up your billing maybe to free tier or standard tier. So this video will assume that you've been able to do that beforehand, but if you haven't, you can be able to check out a video that helps you to set up your CodeCatalyst and also helps you understand some of the concepts, the basic concepts around CodeCatalyst. So, but for this case, you're going to be creating a simple React web application using one of the blueprints within CodeCatalyst. So I'll start by logging in. So there's a sign up process. This is detailed in a different video, but we're going to just sign in. So if you don't understand what CodeCatalyst is all about, and you're watching this maybe for the very first time, it is a service that helps software development teams to adopt what we call continuous integration and continuous deployment, popularly known as CI/CD practices in the software development process. So with CodeCatalyst, you can be able to collaborate on code as a software development team. You can build, test, and deploy your application with different workflows. CodeCatalyst leverages other AWS services such as code commit and code deploy. And also you can be able to do what you call issue tracking. So as you can see here, I'll be able to log in. So remember that this is a sign up page. So if you already created your account, you don't use the sign up to create. So here you use your AWS Builder ID. You don't use your AWS account credentials. So if you don't have an AWS Builder ID, you need to create it here in this page. But I'll click on sign in, then I'll log in using my email. I'll put my password. And then once I'm logged in, hopefully it isn't going to go to a loop. So as I was mentioning, you can also use CodeCatalyst for monitoring. You can also do what you call notification. So you can be able to check different things with regards to what we call the resource status and something like that. So some of the key concepts around CodeCatalyst is spaces and project and blueprints. Yes. So some of the key kind of concept that you need to understand. So the first thing that happens is space. A space is, you can think of it like a department. You can think of it like you can think of it like a group, or where you can be able to put related projects around it. So for example, you can see here, I have a space called Kevin T. I can create another space if I want to, but under this space, create space or create a project. But in this case, I don't want to create a new space because I just want to demonstrate how I can be able to use. You can see I had already one project here called a single page app. So what I'll do is I'll create a new project within my Kevin T space. So I'll create a project. And then you can see you have three options here. You can have the option of starting from a blueprint, which is by default selected. You can bring in your own code that you've already been developing. Maybe you can link to a repository first, for example, GitHub or code commit. And then You can also have the option to start totally from scratch, no resources, and you just start from scratch without any kind of resources, without any code, just an empty project where you put everything one at a time and you're moving on. And looking at it currently within the CodeCatalyst console, we have 16 blueprints. You have a blueprint to create a single page application, a .NET serverless application, an AWS Glue, ETL, extract, transform, and load, a static website that can be under an Amplify hosting or CloudFront and S3, a to-do web application, a serverless web application, a serverless RESTful microservice. You can also create even a modern 3-tier web application, an ASP.NET Core Web API, Clickstream, real-time analytics application, which is an event-driven, a serverless image handler, a DevOps deployment pipeline helps you do that. You can also have a Java API with AWS Fargate. You can also use, still with Fargate, a Node.js API, a video on demand VOD web service, which is sometimes very important. And then also you have a SAM API and also intelligent document processing blueprint. So for this session, you're going to create a React simple web application. So I'll choose this blueprint, then I'll click on next. So for these, I can call it my React app. Just call it like that, sorry, that. And then I'll use my account ID. You should have already connected to it. If you have several accounts within the same space, you can be able to click on this drop down and choose the right one. But for this case, I'll just remain with that one that I have here. Then for the IAM role, this is also set up when you're setting up when you're connecting your AWS account also with CodeCatalyst. So you use the appropriate IAM role. So you can see the AWS account is configured. If I want to do any additional configuration, it is a React. I want to do an Amplify hosting. I can also choose maybe CloudFront and S3 if I want. And I can use my CDK programming language. I can either choose TypeScript or Python. For this case, I'll just leave it as default. So for the repository name, I'll call it, again, still in small, my React app. And then the stack name, I can call it my React app stack, dev stack, something like that, just to make sure that they all make sense. So again, you'll also see that the details about the whole blueprint. I believe in future you can be able to come up also with your own blueprints and deploy it. So remember that CodeCatalyst is still in preview. So I can be able to generate a project preview where blueprints are dynamically generated based on my choices, and also update. I can update the blueprint configuration and preview the project resource. So I can be able to view the workflow. I can even view the code that is going to create this. So for example, if I choose to view the workflow, so you can see, first of all, if I look at it, I can check it as a YAML. I can check on the YAML file that is going to create, or I can look at it visually. So it's going to be having my React app. So there's going to be a source, a build, as well as a test in this case. For this step on pull request, build, and test. So there's also a deploy step. So here I can be able to see there's going to, after build and test, there's also going to be a CDK bootstrap action. then also a CDK deploy. All these, remember, is going to be done through TypeScript as the language. So after I've looked at it and I'm satisfied with the workflow. So in this case, I can get out of the workflow. I can also view the code that is going to be used instead of just looking at the workflow. I can look at the code. So this is the code. I can see it in terms of the README. I can be able to see the dev file, the package.json, the tsconfig. I can also see all these here. So remember, but still you can only preview, you can't change the code. The only thing you can change is the options. You can also choose the region where you would like the project to reside in. So it's also very important to ensure that you choose the region effectively. So I'll remain with that one. So I'll create a project. So the process will start. It's going to be taking just a few seconds. So it's doing the process of. So in this case, it's ensuring the code is being actually generated, the pipeline, and all the things that are required. So the moment you have your app ready, you'll be able to see different sections. For example, in the far left, you're going to see you have overview, issues, code, CI/CD, as well as reports, even the project settings. So I can be able to view the repository from there. I can be able to just check all that is here. So if I'm already satisfied, I can be able to create a workflow. So what will happen is, before I get even to the workflow, let me just get to start here. So this is the overview. Let's look at the overview. So this is where you just have kind of a dashboard to look at the repository, the workflow run, any kind of pull requests that have been made by a team. You can be able to see here, or you can create one by yourself. You can also create a development environment where you can choose to run it locally, or you can use Cloud9. I would actually recommend using Cloud9. And then if there's any issues, you can also be able to create an issue and just ensure that it can be assigned to someone. So I can call whatever it is, I can add another person to deal with the issue. But before I get to that point, so that's because that is all about the collaboration. So you can see there's a workflow that is currently about running, that has started. So you remember we had 2 steps. We had on push to main deploy pipeline. So these are deployment. And then, so let's look at this. Let's look at this. So I can be able to look at, I've already mentioned about issues, so I don't have to go back there. So let me go to source repositories so that we know, we can check where the code is currently. So I can see this is the repository. If I open it, all these within one place. So I can see these are the folders. I have 4 hidden folders. We have the CDK folder, the public folder, the SRC, the git ignore, the readme, dev file.yaml, a package.json, the tsconfig.json. This is the readme, which I can edit myself, and I can add, I can customize, I can put my ideas. I can just ensure that I deviate a bit from the blueprint to ensure that I explain what the React app is really all about. Remember, you can do all these all within CodeCatalyst. You don't have to context switch between different services within AWS. So this makes work very, very easy for you. So for example, I can say this, instead of saying this blueprint, I can say these the simple React web application. Of that, and I can maybe just do that for just a simple. So you can see you're committing this file directly to the branch. If you would like to review this file, you can create a pull request after committing. So I can just say I can leave it the way it is, updated readme.md as the default readme file. So let me just commit that. So you can see I get the notification. You can see all that. So that is it. If they want to run, if I are in a team and I want to create a pull request, I can just do that up here. Let's go to dev environments, which is very important. You can deploy an AWS Cloud9 dev environment for you to do all your tests from it. So I'll just create a dev environment using Cloud9. So you can see what happens is ask clone a repository, clone a branch from an existing repository to the dev environment. I should be able to do that. I'm using the My React app. Do I want to work in the existing branch or in a new branch? I can say work in a new branch and I call it dev. And then create branch from me, no worry. And the feature I can be able to say I want to put the sign up feature. So it's very clear that what it is. I can edit the configuration if I want to. I can change the storage if I want to, but others should be in a billing tier. So for you to be able to get more compute, you can choose the timeout, whether you want it 15 minutes or something, but I'll leave it as default. So I'll create the dev environment, which will be we'll be working through the dev branch. So that we'll be able to see shortly. So you can see it's starting to create that. So as that goes on, let's go to CI/CD. So let's look at the workflows. I've already mentioned that is also another key concept, understanding what really workflows are. And according to the documentation, we say the workflow is an automated procedure that describes how to build, test, and deploy your code or as part of a CI/CD system. So it basically defines a series of the steps that you're going, or the action that is going to be taken during that workflow run. So it also defines the events, some of the triggers that cause the workflow to start. So you can create a workflow definition file using the console's visual or even the YAML editor. So you can see I can be able to create a workflow if I want to, but I can be able to view some of the runs that have been taking place. If the workflow runs, so no run has completed yet, but I can see there's a run that started 8 minutes ago, which is a CDK deploy. And there's one that is about to, so you can see this one has just completed as you're looking at it. And then there's also another CDK deploy that was triggered here. So what was the trigger? Let me just confirm the trigger. So the trigger was basically when I updated the README, it actually triggered a new workflow, which is totally understandable. So let's go back to, so I've already mentioned about environments, which was being created. A Cloud9 environment was created. The good thing with a Cloud9 environment, you can be able to do all your development on the browser, and you don't have to rely on your computer if it doesn't have any kind of compute power within your local device. And this is particularly useful, especially when you're running maybe some training of machine learning models. It's very important to leverage the cloud on these. So there's a deployment, so it's environment development, it's an unproduction. So you can see it was triggered a minute ago. So that is a deployment activity. So under compute, I'll be able to see some of the things here. And you can see this same side panel is also up here under CI/CD. So you can see for compute, this is a standard tier feature. I can only look at it once I change my plan and upgrade to a standard tier, but that I will not do it right now. So remember, you also can have some secrets that you credentials, so you can have anything that you like to make available for use, but do not want to access directly. So I can give it. So, for example, if it can be my key ID, I can put the name and the value, a name value pair, then just create it. Also, change tracking is an important page. So talking of secrets, also CodeCatalyst has what you call personal access tokens, which is similar to password and usually associated with your user identity when you're using spaces and projects within CodeCatalyst. So you can also use the PATs to access CodeCatalyst resources such as IDEs and even Git-based source repositories. For example, a GitHub repository, you can also use that. So you can even have more than one personal access token. That is very important to me. So I can be able to see it is the initial commit, and I updated my README. You can see that is this. So what happens is within the initial commit, there's a unit test and a code coverage, but there's no deployments that were needed to be done in this case. So it's also very important to know that CodeCatalyst also offers you reports, which is a very important perspective, especially looking at unit tests, integration tests. So when you're testing whether your application is performing as it should in terms of this, also the runtime, the time it takes. So for example, you can look at this test coverage of a unit test. So you can see it ran for a second and it was had a pass rate of 100%. So it didn't have a success criteria, but you can see it's something that ran and it was succeeded. If there was any test case that you set up and maybe they were maybe they were skipped or maybe they failed, you can get that. If I want, I can check the full results for it, the actual results apart from the summary. So I can be able to check some of the test cases, renders, learn, React link. So did it really do that? So I can be able to even check the logs. So I can be able to see, did it really do it? If they did, I can be able to see that. Sure. Okay, so let's look at something else within our project. Let's go back to our overview and see whether our development environment came up from Cloud9. So I can see it is here and it is running. So I can just click on this IDE link and it will take me to Cloud9 directly. And you can see this alias is there, whether it is when last time it has been used, if there are other development environments. So you can even have different people within the team having other development environments and doing all that they want. For example, I can again say create an issue. Maybe I can say first thing I can be able to put up there is sign up feature. So I can add myself, I can assign, can put it under dev. I can put a label called dev. Then I can add another feature, maybe I can add another label as it's a feature, not a bug. And then for its status, I can say in progress, priority, I can give it a medium priority, or you can even say a high, maybe because I need to, you all need that. If I want, I can add another custom field. Maybe I can add, okay, a type of text. You can say due date. You can add maybe something like due date. And then I can put date. Then I can choose, maybe it's due by next week. And I can create. So if I want another custom field, I can also add. So I can just create this issue. So as that is done, as that is being done, I can go back. So you can see I have my development environment. I can be able to see that it is what I've been able to access. If I open the React app, I can go to the README and just update it. Just say, and add something like dev branch just to show that I can. dev here. I need to go to my React app. Git status. I don't know if it's things. So I can see is up to date, but I need to add readme. So after I've been able to do that, let's just confirm that this has happened in the app. This is the main branch. I can go to the dev branch from here. So you can see it has what I just added just right now. You can see it is working. If I follow up all this, I can maybe even go to within the repository. Let's see how they can do npm start. It doesn't work. I think I need to do npm install. Let install the dependencies. So all this is happening within my browser through Cloud9. So it means I can be able to do everything that I want. I can have my total the deployment environment. The good thing is it has a timeout feature. It means that if I step out of my machine for a while, I'll not be able to incur charges because my development environment is constantly running. Also, that is dependent on the timeout you set. So it's done. I'll avoid I'll ignore the warnings. So I'll do an npm start. I can be able to deploy if I want to. So I can run a build. Uh, If I want to do it with AWS Amplify, you remember, I think we chose Amplify. I'll log into the Amplify console, connect your create React, pick a branch. If you're looking to create Amplify, try that. So I can just log into my Amplify console, and then I'll connect to the repo, and then I'll be able to choose and save and deploy. So that will be really the easiest way to be able to do it through Amplify. So you can see it has finished and it has said it is going to work, but I'm not sure that this is going to work. Might not work. So for example, it can't really work. If I open this on my browser, last time I tested it, it wasn't working. So I need to go to Amplify and deploy it. So you can see this, I can just choose, then I can just click on get started. So Amplify hosting. So I can choose my existing code, maybe is in code commit. Let's see. Let's choose the repository. Is in here. See. So is a GitHub repo that demonstrates how I'll be able to connect it. I think I can run these commands within my development environment. So let me just run this one. remember not get given a clipboard access. I think I did. I'm going to find out. Already installed that. If I want, I can push my code to Git, log in and choose connect app. Then I can just choose that. So this is when I'm using the console. Then again, I can just finish up and use the code. It's not going to require details that I don't have. So which region are we in? US West? US West 1, if I'm not wrong. Let's go to an overview. Here. Yes, West 1. Yes, West 1 or US West 2. Just do this very fast. So this is a good place to come and just delete your done, or if you're testing it out. So let's say I go to my space. I'll be able to know from here. Just say I want to create another project. Let that does you be able to know. US West 2. Was US West 2. US West 2. So US West 2. Specify the username. I can just leave it as the default. Complete the user creation in the console. So cancel this first. Please, I need to confirm anything. Okay, then Amplify Studio and Amplify Hosting. Click this up. Let it load. It's like, oh, it's going to be completed within the I am nice. Let it load. Okay. With that, I have to create the user. Okay, I need to run this to run this. That's the way it is. I think it takes me back to step one. I think it's an way of it to ensure that you don't mess things up. It's going to be a final step, access key. Is what? Administrator access. And let's add the user to the group. And I create the user. Okay, good. And then I can press enter to continue. Access key of the newly created user. So these are user are delete, so no worries or the access key ID. Get access key. Just this. Access key. File B. Do a profile B. Do the default. Good. Finish that. Then I can do an amplify init. Yeah, doing things from the console. Fine. Directory path. Fine. Division. Begin. Alright. You have to AWS profile. SKID. Yes, yes. Int MS app. SKID. Okay. So let's hope it's going to work. It's creating deploying the app on Amplify. Okay, so so you can see some of the next Amplify status will show what you've already added, and if it's locally configured, and also category, which will also will build all your local backend and provision it in the cloud. Publish will also build all your local backend and frontend. If I want. Okay, so if I want to do so you can see I've initialized my environment successfully. A project has been initialized and connected to the cloud. So if I go back to console, and if I go to all apps, hopefully I'll be able to see the code. Then not Virginia, I think that should be able to see it under US West too. And I'm sure that must be Oregon. Oh, app to app. The app had already been deployed. I've deployed it again within the console. So I think that is also not a bad way. I deployed it on CodeCatalyst, but I also showed you how you can deploy it from Cloud9 using the Amplify commands. So you do see I can be able to open the domain. So I can edit src app.tsx and save to reload. If I look at my README, so the moment I edit this, say I edit return app. Oh. See the code, I can say edit, compute is here, function app, logo. So you can see here, edit, you save. Deploy it, we just add that. Then I can maybe just do I can go to CodeCatalyst, just cancel this. Do see that I've done some updates on my React app. Let's see whether that has triggered any kind of an update. So for CI/CD, you found the workflow. You need to do some that. Didn't get. Here to get some of the credentials. Let me see whether I can do the edits from here. So I can see under the dev, let me see whether there's anything that has changed, especially on the code. So I want to see whether I can get an end-to-end kind of a what? An update. Can edit this. Just put what I put here. They'll get a dark mode. It's too white for me. I'm changing it on main. Change it on main instead of the dev branch. It's still fine. And if it's going to run another deployment, I can see, let me just go to. So that is something of an issue. Let me just cancel. Let me just check this. Let me cancel. So you can see I chose the dev branch, right? So let's say I've chosen app.tsx. The moment I click on edit, yeah, I'm still now on the dev. Yeah, that is the issue I wanted to confirm. We do the commit. Let's see whether it's going to do a run. So we don't know. Now that we have to go to general and I'll confirm that. So this one is for the main. I call the environment dev. Let's see whether this happened. Something has happened on this. Yet. Is that trigger that the run that started 3 minutes ago? It's totally fine. But this one is under main. Let's go to dev. What is inactive? No push triggers match the branch where the workflow definition file. Let's look at it. And branches should be dev. Validate and commit. So I've changed the workflow definition so that it includes the dev. So let's look at this. The workflow source has been changed, the build and tests. So I'm going to look at a CDK bootstrap action. It is ready to run. Then a CDK deploy. So this gives you a visual of how the workflow is moving. So let's look at this. Again, even if it's the main, I've also changed for the main. So it means that it should be able to show you all these. It still hasn't changed. Let me see. Bootstrap has finished. Wait for the deployment. Just about complete. The build and test has successfully completed. I think we are at the deployment. Nice. This has been an interesting one also. So we have our app deployed, a simple app from the blueprint. But what is very important is drag and drop your projects build out zip update your app so you can choose your for example, this one is going on a deployment is finished 9 that happened in at 9:47. That was a bit far back. Let me just go to all apps and see. They duplicates of each other. DCX86E. No, they're two different apps. These are not deployment has taken effect yet. The deployment still is running here. So the app that will have a different look is the one that has access to the dev. BWK. These are two apps. I think one that I deployed using the console and the other one that I deployed then CodeCatalyst was deployed using CodeCatalyst and the other one was deployed. So it's always very important to check the region. So let's see. Yeah, so you can see this one has now has the difference. Kevin Tree React app is now deployed. And that means that the E6E, the E6E is the one. This one, I think we changed both of them. So we should be able to see that difference for both. I don't think this one didn't really complete. So this one is the one that is connected to the branch, and that has E6E. So let me look at that one. Which one is this one? It's not that one. This one. Initial. If I look at the deployment, this one is the one that just ended right now. Yeah. Been able to deploy our app and been able to do some changes on the code, and it has deployed on it. So you can be able to see this. And what happens? So let's say, so you can see the deployment, the environment, the workflow completed, and the record is very important to put this for the record. Okay, let me just do this. Good. So let's do something. First of all, let's confirm these are WS sample. This is a good important link. So let me just, again, I need to ensure that I, first of all, for the purpose of my secrecy, I'll delete this user. Before I delete the user, I need to delete the project first of all. Let me just delete the project. Let's see what happens. So it also gives you understanding. I'll also delete this project. Just to ensure that after I'm done, I'll be able to do that. Let's see the dev environment. Once I deleted was lost. Let me confirm from the console. And the app's still there. And there. I can open the app, delete the app. App is this. Just leave that on first. Delete this other one. I'll leave it at that. You can just click on this. These are very good, well-maintained record. Okay. So refresh, delete the user. So this is how you can be able to check the settings for your space, the AWS accounts, the billing, the dev environments. If I have any, let me see if I have any dev environments that are still running, that are still there. So you can say I don't have any. If I want, I can be able to delete them from here also. Other members, I can invite members to a space just here. Can be able to add someone here and invite them via email to collaborate in this space. So that's CodeCatalyst for you. I hope it has been an interesting one and full of learning. In case of any queries, you can always reach out. I'll be able to look at an angle of how you can be able to use Code Whisperer within Cloud9 to help you do some of the different kind of coding and make you more productive as a developer. So that is basically it, and thank you so much. See you soon in my next video.